6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Hey, I want to apologize right up top about the time here. It's 6:30 p.m. here in Central Time, 7:30 on the East Coast, but that means it's 12:30 in the UK. So sorry about these late starts, but it's usually when we can line up guests after work, and I'll be joined shortly by Dan Devlin from Monterey, California. He's he's busy trying to get home, so I'm here by myself for a minute. We did have another guest lined up, the American Geordie. He contacted me earlier and said that he would be able to come next week, but he had something pop up, so that's fine. We look forward to talking to him. We haven't ever talked to him yet. And we always like to hear everybody's story about Newcastle and how they got connected to Newcastle. We got a couple things to talk about, but while I'm waiting for Dan, I just want to cover the Chelsea match, which was, of interest to us because right now Chelsea is kind of sneaking up the table a little bit. I personally am a little bit more concerned with them than some of the other teams around us. But they're at 51 points. We're at 53 points. So we've played the same amount of games, 34 games each. They've got West Ham coming up and win points. So I'm actually hoping that West Ham wins that next match, next time they play. And meanwhile, we're 1 point behind Man United and 7 points. Spurs not playing too good. They lost to us, of course, and today they lost to Chelsea 2-0. So they're kind of stagnant, which is good because I want to jump over Man United soon and hope we don't even have to wait until we play them. Man City. Then it's really interesting for those last couple of spots to go to Europe. With Spurs, Man United, Newcastle, all in a bunch, and then right below us, Chelsea and West Ham. So let's see. Anybody here? We got a new member. Antoon Army became a YouTube member. All right, great. Glad you're here. Let's see if anybody else is here. Jim, my buddy. Jim from Nashville is on. Away the lads, he says. And looks like Les must be here because we're getting shout outs from not worried about Chelsea. Eddie looks up, not down. I like that point. And I heard my good friend Baz, Barry Thomas, say that today on his podcast. I watched that a little bit earlier. But yeah, I guess I'm paranoid from being a Newcastle fan. You're like, oh, what else can happen? So I do sometimes worry about those behind us. And I've said this before, Chelsea's got a lot of good players, but I sure hope that they don't figure out how to play as a team starting now. It would be a really bad time for that to happen. But they have looked kind of tough lately. So yeah, so I look down a little bit too. A couple things we're going to talk about. Of course, I mentioned the table and the Chelsea match that just happened today. I'll be joined by Dan, and I'm going to throw a new topic in here. I actually ran into Dan in California. How did I run into Dan in California? Well, I flew out there, and I knew that there was a match that he was going to in Orange County, and I just showed up. So we had a lot of laughs, drank some beer, watched a good match, and I'll tell you about that when Dan gets on. Then we'll talk about the Burnley match coming up. I have a prediction in mind based on just, where I think we are, where I think they are, and it being an away game. And oh my gosh, Caitlin and Nick are in here too. I can't believe it. It's 12:37 back there. So it's Friday morning already. But you guys are the best. You guys are always supporting us in whatever way you can, and even these odd hours you get on. So thank you for that. Yeah, we're going to talk about Burnley, the upcoming match. Then we'll talk about, if we have time after we discuss the trip to California and Burnley. I would like to talk about St. James Park. Some interesting things happening there. I'm excited about it because they announced that they're really trying to work on all the different feasible ways that we could increase attendance at St. James, but stay at St. James. I don't know yet what that means in terms of how expansive things would be. As all of you guys know, there's only so much we can do to St. James to improve the amount of seating. But I'm wondering if it involves other things. I don't know if they'll take down one stand and redo it completely. Let's say the Gallagate, or just extend it. But that's what we'll cover after we just cover a couple of things. And there he is, fresh from work, Dan Devlin, SuperfanDan.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you, Jack. How are you?
I'm good. Just hanging on. I started talking about, I just happened to peel over and watch a little bit of Chelsea today. They won their match, so they're right close to us. And I talked about the table.
Behind us, right?
Yeah, they're still 51 points. We're 53, so they're sneaking up a little bit. I'm hoping that West Ham takes care of them when they play their next game. I told everybody I would just kind of song and dance till Dan got here, because the first topic I wanted to talk about was our trip to California. It was actually just me. You were already there. And I mentioned that, I just popped in to find Dan because I knew where he would be. Dan is a big supporter of Monterey Bay FC. They're located near Monterey Bay I think it's in Marina.
Seaside. We're on. Well,
Seaside.
The stadium is in Seaside. Yeah.
It's
easier just to say Seaside. So there you go.
So you go to every home match. You try and get to some away matches, and I knew that you were planning to go there. I tried to keep it a secret, and I think I did.
You did. I did. It was the biggest shock in the world.
It was so much fun. Hey, Dan, what's going on with your voice? It's just a little muted, a little bit.
One moment.
Okay.
Is this better?
Oh man, that's better. Yeah.
I had a small fan blowing on me only because it.
Because you ran all the way home.
I called you as I was walking out of the office and said, I'm hurrying to the car. I'm not going to break land speed records, but I'm going to get home. And as soon as I got home, I ran up the stairs to get my laptop, and I ran back downstairs to sit here in the easy chair, and I'm warm. And so I turned on the little fan, and I apologize for that. So no, we're all good. Just making sure that hold on.
Oh, that's even better. Whatever you did there.
No, hold on.
Okay. Meanwhile,
I had the headphones on backwards.
Oh, okay.
So that also caused part of the problem. So anyway,
Meanwhile, Morgul Blade, thank you very much, of course, and
hey guys,
Caitlin and Nick always like to support the channel. They are rock stars.
And it's late over there, so goodness gracious.
I gave them a shout out. 1237 is when they first popped up. Yeah.
And then we have a new fan, and Toon Army.
I
Terrific.
put that up there. Yeah.
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 And there's Jim from Nashville. Hey, hey there, Jim. Good to see
Yeah.
you. So yeah, I hurried home, got set up. Here we are on here. And yeah, last Saturday, Monterey Bay was away at Orange County. Just to put this into perspective, and I like to do this little geography lesson for everyone. That's only like a 350-mile drive from here, but it takes 6 hours to do it. I like to remind people that the entire Ireland island, the entire island that is the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, you can fit that whole island 9 times into the state of California.
That's
So,
amazing. That's amazing.
so when I say I'm driving from the central coast of California down to Los Angeles, and I drove through Los Angeles to get it down to Santa Ana,
Yep. Yep.
that's a 6-hour drive.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what we did on Thursday night, and we went to Disneyland in Anaheim because it was Star Wars night. Because of course this weekend is May the 4th be with you. So Disneyland was hosting a Star Wars night after dark. So I've never been in Disneyland after dark, which was kind of cool. And everybody was dressed up like different Star Wars characters and that kind of business. That was a lot of fun. And then Saturday morning, we took an Uber out to Huntington Beach, and we hooked up with the Toon Army Orange County. And I shout out to Mark and Kevin at the Dos Amigos Mexican Cantina, and we met Ian and a young man named Desmond. We met a lot of people. The Wilson family were there. There were every version of kit from this season that had Wilson number 9 on the back, because their last names were Wilson, so they're all Wilson fans. But we got to watch that game together. My friends Oz and Joey here from Monterey and Salinas, they came down, and we went together. And it's 7 o'clock a.m. kickoff for us, since it was a 3 p.m. kickoff on Tyneside.
That's pretty early, but
little nervy start. I
give you some credit, because that's something I love to do, is go to another town and visit the local Toon Army.
Yeah.
Been to a bunch of them, and I know you have too, because in the summer series we went to Philadelphia, Atlanta, and
met people from so many. I mean, we've met people from Orlando, we've met people from Miami, we've met people from Denver, we've met people from Baltimore, we've met all of those folks. So yeah, it's always fun to get together with local chapters wherever we are, and that was awesome. The Orange County folks, what a neat venue as well. The cantina, very clean, newly renovated about 3 years ago, I think. But it was funny because I asked the bartender how long he'd been at the bar, and he said he'd been working there for about 2 years, and that venue, it was named something else before, and it was like the diviest of dive bars. They said it was, it was known in the city as a place where bikers hung out, and there were many capital offenses that had been committed in the parking lot, shall we say.
So Jim has a point. He said, you guys, if you're going around the country, you got to do the national meetup too, and we certainly will.
Absolutely.
Whenever it is.
More details.
I did go when it was in Baltimore. It was great, and I did meet up with the Nashville guys because they had the Premier League mornings there. So that was awesome. And but yeah, going there. How far was that from the beach? I mean,
less than a mile.
Yeah, less than a mile. I don't know if you ever got over there.
If we had walked out the front of the bar and turned left, if we had walked about 3/4 of a mile, we would have been on Huntington Beach.
Oh, so, yeah, that's great.
It was a gorgeous day.
You probably got the sea breeze right there anyway.
And 3 of the bay windows are those all glass roller up garage door kinds of things. So
I
yeah,
love it.
when it got to be 9 o'clock after the match, all those opened up, and it was just, yeah, you got that sea
I love
breeze, and it was gorgeous.
You know, I couldn't believe the weather. I got there about 4 in the afternoon, and the weather was beautiful. It was 70 degrees and clear and sunny and just a perfect California day. And
And the
I-
biggest surprise I could have gotten,
you know, I didn't have enough time to put a bunch of pictures up and everything, but we had a good time. And
we've
you know
got
what was,
pictures.
you
We
know
got
what
pictures.
you know what was great is
Let's see if I can do
I kind of knew that Dan was going down there, and I would see him talk to people on Instagram or on Twitter, and he was trying to meet up with some other guys, and some of them were our best buddies from San Diego. That would be Eddie Lucero and Shade Hartline, the SoCal Geordie, and we
Yeah.
met up with them too, and it was just so much fun.
Here, let me see if I can put this up here real quick. I wanna, yeah, come on, make this full size. Good
Oh,
deal.
Jim
Hold on.
Jim says the rumor is next year might be San Diego. Ooh, that would be
Twist
fun.
my arm.
Yeah, that would
Really?
be fun.
Twist my arm. Hold on. I want to show you. I don't have slides. I want to show, present, share screen. Here we go. Up. And we're going to go to.
Yeah, that's a good point right there on the screen from Blade. Dan and the Beard, the amount of traveling you guys do is amazing in the UK. We forget that a lot of your travel is huge distances by plane. Yes, it is.
That was, and
I
that
was
was,
jet lagged.
here we go. There's me
Oh
and
yeah,
there's me and
one.
John after the match.
Let's put it up there. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I've got
And
my 2 scarves there. I've got my Monterey Bay one that's blue and blue,
yep,
teal,
crisp and kelp.
crisp and kelp. Those those are the team colors. And I've also got thank you very much, Dan. I've got an Orange County one too. There
And
we go.
there's the fam.
There's the whole bunch.
So if people are watching, there's John, there's Dan, there's SoCal Geordie Shade Heartline,
Yeah,
there's our good buddy Eddie Lucero of the both of them of the San Diego Mags.
yeah,
This is Eddie's daughter Mila, and this is Shade's girlfriend Carly. But
yeah.
this was the family reunion that happened down there at Championship Soccer Stadium in Irvine, and it was just the neatest thing in the world to see Jack all of a
Yeah.
sudden just walk in and surprise the crap out of all of us. And if Charky is watching this, I promised Charky that his black and white tartan scarf would have pride of place in my scarf belt, and there it is. I just wanted to show him that
There you go.
it's always there, my friend. So
Yeah. I don't know how many scarves you got on that make up that kilt, but it's a bunch.
that day it was 11.
Oh, that's a
So
bunch. It's a bunch.
so where do I go? I'm trying to quit sharing. Stop sharing. There we go.
Oh, that's okay. That's
Yep.
okay. Yeah, we had a good time, and it was just for me. I was out in Colorado, and I couldn't get to the Denver Toon Army, the Mile High Mags. I couldn't get there because it was an 8 o'clock game, and I was at the airport getting ready to put my daughter on a flight for her to go home. I was visiting her, and then
It was easier
I
for you to
jumped
get on a plane and fly to LA than it was to get to Denver.
Well, all this traveling around that we do, it's you accumulate points, and then my mind starts to wander, and maybe I could use those points to get out to California for just a day. It wouldn't be that expensive.
Again, it was the best surprise that I could have had that day. It was and in typical Geordie fashion, the day started for me at the hotel, leaving the hotel at 6:30
Yeah.
a.m.
Oh, yeah.
to go to the pub to watch the game. So we were there before kickoff, and I'd had my first two pints before we'd hit the 10th minute. So it was it was a good day. We had,
I-
and the food was terrific, and the atmosphere was great. It's a sports bar. Let's just be honest. But they had
yeah.
great food. The kitchen was open from opening, and they have a little Newcastle corner
Mhm.
over in the place. Oh, I turned off my shares, but they had the little sign that says Newcastle or Toon supporters only. Name Ackhams. Um, then and they have a, a a tune top from a home kit from 2009, maybe the 2009 2010 season when right after we no, the season we went down. It was the kit that Michael Owen and Viduka and Jeremy and Obafemi Martins, that that kit that they wore with the this color trim on the collar.
Ah.
But it was a fully autographed home kit was framed and up on the wall as well. So but that
So
was neat.
Dan,
Yep.
this was, I knew your team was playing down in Orange County,
Yep.
and that's why I wanted to go. I wanted to see it for once. They play in the U.S. What is it?
USL, the US Soccer, the
USL.
United Soccer League
Yeah, and that is
championship, which
US.
if you were to compare the American soccer landscape
Yeah,
to the English professional pyramid, we would be equivalent to the EFL championship.
EFL.
We're
Okay.
the we're the we're the division below Major League Soccer.
Yep.
But our UK listeners have to understand or have to remember, in the United States, there's no such thing as promotion and relegation, which is hogwash. But
Yeah.
so we have two divisions. We have 12 teams in a Western division, 12 teams in an Eastern division. We play each team in our division in the Western Conference. We play them both home and away. And then the Eastern Conference, we play every one of those 12 teams either home or away. So 6 games were away, 6 games were at home. So it's a 34 game season. We get 17 games at home. Uh, 11 of those are against our conference, or 11. Yeah. And then 6 of those are against the Eastern Conference, or half of the
Eastern.
conference.
Okay.
So, and then every other year, those numbers switch up. So
Yeah.
if we host Detroit this year, next year we travel to Detroit, and
Okay.
it flips like that every other season. So
Yeah. So I had been to a couple of MLS games. I went to St. Louis.
mhm.
Been to
Whose inaugural season was last year, and they had a
yeah.
phenomenal season.
We went to their second game. It was a
Hmm.
complete sellout. They had a really good thing going on there.
Great
And
stadium there too.
yeah, my best friend is from St. Louis, so I joined him there. And I've also been to Seattle to see a game, and both of those places are really manic about
Yeah.
their football,
Yep.
and so it's fun. I mean, but this is the first time I've seen a USL game, and I told you I was like, this is really good competition.
Yeah.
That was a really good, well played game.
Yeah.
A lot of action. Just really I know the Premier League is up here, and
Yeah.
I know that there are other teams in Europe and leagues in Europe that are, top notch.
Yep.
We're just kind of getting started in the US, even though it's been, I don't know, most of my
Mhm.
life, 40
Yep.
years or something.
Yep.
Um, but the competition was really good, and the interest has grown over the
Yeah.
years here.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to get together
The
with.
the style of play is good. Um, I want to make the comparison. If Major League Soccer is like the Premier League and the USL Championship is like the EFL Championship, I'd like to say that the USL Championship is a little bit more rough and tumble.
Mm,
um, you don't see a whole lot of simulation and rolling around and that kind of stuff in that league. So, like I said, the quality of play is a lot higher. And this is coming from a guy who has been a Major League Soccer supporter for almost 30 years. So, off-topic question from Caitlin, John, and Dan: Have you ever seen Blue Cipher at Denver International?
Lucifer, I have.
Lucifer.
Yeah,
Where's
it's like a Mustang, a big blue Mustang statue that's up rearing on its hind legs, and it's got red eyes.
Yep.
And there's some mythical story about this thing, but I forget what it was. But yeah, I see it every time I go up to the airport.
I was going to say,
Quite
many
a
of the times that I've gone through Denver, it's a connecting flight, so I don't get out of the airport. But
Yeah.
there have been a couple of times where I've driven like you. I drove up from Colorado Springs
Yeah.
to DIA, and yeah, it's sorry, I didn't read that right. I was so
No, that's
Blucifer.
okay.
Yep. Yes, we have seen Blucifer.
Yeah. So anyway, we did go to Orange County. We did see a good match. Unfortunately, Orange County won 2-0. I thought you guys could win it because your first half there were lots of chances, lots of opportunities for goals, and I thought you guys were the more aggressive team, to be honest.
We just
But,
couldn't put it in the net. That's all. That's
Yeah.
we had a runaway, one-on-one situation. One of our forwards took off and was bearing down on the keeper, and it was one-on-one, and he could have gone to either corner, and he
Yeah.
shot it right at the keeper. I mean, just and 9 times out of 10, he would have hit one of the corners, and I don't know if it was just his stride or something, but he didn't. The shot he got off was misdirected and went right to the keeper. So that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
So yes, and then I want to call attention to Jim there, because I know Jim is in Nashville, and their field is also their stadium is also pretty new. I think it's only the 3rd season that they've been playing in that stadium, and it's really neat. It is a good looking stadium. I remember when they debuted it, when it opened its doors. There was a fantastic video with a drone that flew in through the front gate and then up and around and through. It was pretty phenomenal. The photography there, the footage was really neat. So
Yeah, and he says it's a largest specifically soccer stadium in the US or Canada. That's pretty cool.
that's the big thing about stadiums in the United States. Major League Soccer wants to have all of their clubs playing in soccer specific stadiums.
Right.
We've still got a number of teams that are playing in older, dilapidated,
Yeah.
formerly NFL stadiums, like
Yeah.
um,
Seattle.
Seattle's playing at Quest Field,
Yeah.
or maybe it's called CenturyLink now, and something else. I can't remember.
I can't keep up with it.
DC United used to play at the old RFK in DC. Now they're playing at Audi Field out by the crap, out on the riverfront. I couldn't remember the name. It's out by the Nats, out by the Nationals stadium, the baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Stone's throw from there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other teams, but at the same time, you get into USL Championship. A lot of those teams don't have soccer specific stadiums either. They're playing in the outfield, or what was formerly the outfield of a dilapidated old
Baseball.
triple A baseball
Yeah.
stadium. So but slowly but surely, the soccer landscape is changing. I think the biggest challenge for municipalities, for clubs that have local soccer teams, is stadiums are expensive to build, and then
Oh, yeah.
you also have to rezone specific areas in town to get those. So if it's a residential area, you need to make it more of an industrial park or something to that effect.
Yeah, and it's in competition with our baseball dollars, our US football, our everything.
And then
New
depending on
arenas, all that kind
and then depending on where you are in the United States, there are some towns that have more of an appetite for using public tax dollars
of
to
right.
build out those stadiums, where there are other populaces who are like, we don't care about soccer. Why should
Right.
our taxes pay for it?
Yeah.
And what we also find is the difference between Major League Soccer and USL Championship is, you can have millionaires in the USL Championship. In order to be in Major League Soccer now, you got to be a billionaire. You got to have deep pockets to make that happen.
Yeah,
So-
it looks like it.
so-
Hey, looks like Jim also travels down to Huntsville.
Yep.
See the soccer games down there.
Huntsville is USL 1. which is the league below the championship.
Yeah.
Yep.
And back to Lucifer. Looks like she's got a friend that has become a bit obsessed by it. It's kind of a unique thing. It's like, why'd you put that scary thing up there? I can imagine the darn thing in a snowstorm with those red eyes glowing, you know.
I remember the first time we saw the Kelpies up in Scotland. Those were cool.
Atlanta plays in Mercedes-Benz Stadium,
78,000 seater indoor stadium, which was a unique experience for all of us that went there last year to see Newcastle play Chelsea.
Yeah, it looks like they only sell on the lower level, and just like Chicago.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a fun experience. It was great to see you, Dan.
So happy that you came out, John.
It was fun. I was kicking myself that it was like such a fun surprise to do, but I was also kicking myself like, you should have picked a full weekend when you could just really have a good time. But I had good time.
Hey, so Jack, I'm still here. Hold on just a sec.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had people in the background that didn't want to be on camera, so I took them off camera.
So
do we want to talk? Do we want to talk about the match?
Well, I want to talk about Newcastle and what it looks like for our last 4 games. Okay, so I'm going to pivot, and if anybody's awake out there in the UK, you'll say, "Oh, good, finally, talk about Newcastle." That's why we're here. So anyway, I just wanted to get your ideas, your thoughts about the next 4 matches, and of course, the first one is Burnley. I've already submitted my prediction for that, and I'll explain it.
I have not yet. I needed to do a little bit more research. I mean, you know, Burnley, of course, is in the bottom 3.
Yeah.
They're in 19th place, struggling, but still in with a chance. I mean, that 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th places, it's anyone's game if they could put a run together. So, you know, I think Everton they are already safe. So
I believe so, yeah.
It's Forest, Luton, and Burnley. Those 3, some permutation of those 3. One of those, 2 of those guys are going down.
Yeah.
While I would dearly love to see Luton stay up, I don't think they've got enough in the tank to make it.
Yeah, and Brentford is like 35 points, whereas Nottingham Forest is at 26.
Right.
So it's like Brentford's pretty safe too.
Mathematically, you know, the gulf in points between 17th and 16th is enough that Everton can't go down.
Yeah.
At this point. So and then you also have to think about both of those teams. Everton and Nottingham Forest both had points deducted during the season, which is also a kick in the head. I'm nervy of Burnley. They have been a team that is difficult to face on their day, and we're playing away, right? We're playing at Turf Moor.
Yes, we are away.
So that hasn't worked out well for us a lot this season, playing away. So all we could do is, I think, keep our fingers crossed. Next after that is Man U.
I believe so.
And we're playing at Old Trafford.
Yes, we are. Then we play.
I fancy our chances there right now.
I do too.
With where Man United is.
I'm not scared of that game. I'm more a little nervy about the other games, really.
I think the ones with more to play are the hardest, or the ones that are playing for their lives right now are the most dangerous ones. You know, Man United, it all comes down to which set of 11 goes out on the pitch and decides that they want to actually work together to actually form a squad that can score goals. I think the announcement today that Rashford could be made available to leave Man U, I think that's going to shake up the locker room a little bit.
I love it. I love
You
it
know?
when we hear news like that.
Exactly. Oh, and as we've talked on the program the last couple of weeks, for us, I think the top four is out of reach for us. We can't get there.
Yeah, that's good.
I think we're shooting for that fifth place spot. But for me, realistically, if Spurs gets fifth, as long as we get sixth, and Man United comes in seventh,
Yes.
I'm happy
Oh, it
because
would be great.
because we've never finished above them in Premier League history, and
Yeah. And we
that's what I
almost did
want.
last year.
Almost,
Almost.
almost.
And this year, with the crazy season we've had, to think we could still finish above them, whew, that
Right.
would be great.
So, and then
Jim's bringing us luck. He was at Turf Moor the last time we sent them down.
That's right.
I hope you're watching, and that's just enough to give us the win, and maybe
It's
send them down too.
you said hi to Baz, but it's Les.
Oh,
Hi,
I'm
Leslie.
sorry. Hey,
Hi,
Les.
Leslie. Um, so we have Burnley this weekend. We got Man U at Old Trafford. Then we host Brighton at St. James's,
Yes, yes.
and then we finish the season away.
Yeah, and I was gonna go to that Brighton match. I bought the tickets at the early part of the year, and I was really looking forward to it. I thought it might be super meaningful. I thought we'd be fighting for top four because we started off pretty good this year, and then just everything started falling apart.
Yep.
But it turns out I can't go, so I'm going to save that money for next year, and we'll do it again. We'll
Yep.
do it again, Dan.
Yep, definitely. Already looking forward to the fixture list coming out.
Yeah,
Sometime in
Make some-
June. Is it
make
June?
some plans.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm excited about that.
I will say this. Yeah, it comes out so late, but I will say this for the Burnley match. I did submit my prediction earlier today, and I noticed the last 5 or 6 matches they only give up one goal, and I've heard people talk about their goaltender really helping them out, really making things work. They don't score a lot. They don't score a lot. So I was thinking maybe we'd win 2-1. It's an away game. We sometimes are a little rattled to start out. I'm
Little
just
bogey
saying
team. Yep.
I still think we'll win. And even though it's an away game, of course, we're playing a low team, but they're fighting for everything right now.
Agreed.
I just think we'll win 2-1.
I have to think about that. I'm again, like you said, we have found traveling away and finding goals difficult this season.
Yeah.
You think 2-1?
Yeah. At the same time, somebody could convince me of another score because Barnes and Gordon and Isak, oh my gosh, if they start going,
I think Anthony Gordon is trying to stamp his authority on every match that he's involved in because he's trying to show Southgate that he should be one of the first names on the list getting on the plane to go to the Euros. Absolutely, no doubt, hands down. I believe that. Right now, Isak has already usurped Zlatan Ibrahimovic for greatest Swedish striker in Premier League history with number of goals.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that?
Well, he was tied with him with 6 games left. Now he's got 22 in all competitions. So he's just 19 in the Premier League. So he's already tested.
And he spoke highly of Isak.
Yeah.
He said, "No, this guy's the real deal." And thank God we saw him and plucked him and got him into our roster because he's just been so exciting.
Yeah, and the way that he and Gordon play together is just phenomenal, which is why I was thinking last week when I was talking to Baz and Paul on my drive down to LA, I said I suspected that we would see Barnes come from the bench because he would prove to be more of a reserve capability where tired legs against United Sheffield United, he'd be able to come on and make a difference, and sure enough, he made a difference.
Oh yeah, you know what I like about that guy? He goes straight at it. I mean, he just and it flusters the heck out of the defense. They're like spinning, trying to. Is he going to pass? Is he going to shoot? And it's just fun to see such aggressive action.
I think The hardest part about playing that Isak, Gordon, Barnes triumvirate up front is both Barnes and Gordon's best positions are on the left.
Mm,
And we've seen that when Barnes starts on the left and Gordon starts on the right, Gordon has a hard time getting up to speed. But as soon as he's able to play on the left, he comes alive. So I'm hoping that if we decide to go that route, that Gordon will start on the left and Barnes will start on the right, or at least give them the flexibility to swap sides every once in a while if it's going to benefit Isak.
Hey,
Bruno's-
here's a prediction in from Caitlin and Nick.
Yep.
3-0. Isak with 2 goals, Gordon with 2 assists.
I'll take that.
I like that. I can imagine that happening too.
Yes, Jim, that was a single season record. Agreed for Isak. The record previously held by a Swedish striker was 17 goals by Zlatan back in the 2012-2013 season. So already 11 years later, but Isak was tied with Zlatan with 6 games to go.
I want to see him.
He's scored 3 more since then.
I want to see him jump ahead of Holland.
Yeah,
I would love that.
But does Holland have 23 now?
He's got,
or is it 21 in the Premier League and 23 in all?
Yeah, I think he's got 21, and Isak's 2 behind him. So we got a couple of matches where we just feed the ball to him, get it in there.
Well, don't count out Ollie Watkins at Villa either. There's another kid who's found his boots all of a sudden. So
that's true.
So if I was to, my prediction, so I'm going to have to record this for Baz as well to put on TikTok. I'm thinking, you said 2-1. Nick and Caitlin said 3-0. Oh, what the hell? I'll say 4-1.
I would love it if you were right. Although I like the clean sheet, Caitlin and Nick.
Yep.
I like that idea too. But
well, it depends on if we're going to play Cher and Byrne in the back. That's one thing. If Cher doesn't pass fit on Saturday and we end up having to play Kraft and Byrne.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a different proposition.
Right.
And let's be honest, Dubravka's done well, but there have been a couple of times where you sit there and Dubravka got beat and you look at him going, 5 years ago you would have stopped that, buddy. He's not a spring chicken anymore.
Yeah. So. Hey, we got about 10 minutes left. I don't know. Well, actually, you got about.
Have we talked about Joseph's family down in Charlotte lately?
Oh, please do. Let's get that out there. Yeah. Gosh, I'm so glad you mentioned that.
I just tee him up for you, brother. That's all.
You do. Thank you, because my mind wanders. But we want to thank our sponsor, Dire Crow. Makes some wonderful Newcastle shirts, and if you use the code BAZ20, that's BAZ20, you get 20% off when you order them. And I've got 2 of them. I know Dan's got at least 2.
And I have 2 of them that are on the screen right now. I have that Macam Slayer. And if you see the back of that, it has the number 23, and it says Macam Slayer across the shoulders. So I think everybody knows who that is. And then I have that same Hoey the Lads up in the right-hand corner. I need to get that NUFC ACDC style one.
That's a good one. I'm gonna have to place an order. By the way, he was on, was it today? 8:00 in the morning here. He was on with Baz. I jumped on there too. It was good to see Joseph.
Yeah.
Great guy. Great
family, great people, great and great products.
We thank them so much for that. And I will also say that you guys, if you're enjoying the conversation, you like talking about football, and you like talking about the silly things that we do, please hit the subscribe and join us every week.
And if you want a geography lesson about the United States, just hang on.
Yeah, buddy, we're going to go there. So You're probably like me. You lost your voice this week.
My voice was shot by the end of Saturday. It was,
Yeah. I still haven't recovered from Newcastle and Nashville, and now that
I can't believe it. Guys, you should have seen Jack when he showed up. It was just I scared a whole bunch of Orange County people because I screamed and I may have used some expletives, and I think I may have offended a family that was there for their first time, and I didn't really care. It was
they were good. They were
It
good.
was just the coolest thing. Shade comes over and says, "Hey, I got something to tell you," and he says, "Come here," and wanted me to get away from everybody, and I followed him, and I got around the tree, and there was John. So it was just the neatest thing. I just wish. I mean, we were so excited. I think both you and Shade were so excited about the surprise itself. None of us had the presence of thought to record it, but
not at all.
I think there's a certain element of just live it, man. You don't have to record everything.
That's right. That's right.
But my wife got to see you on FaceTime, and that was her surprise.
That was great.
And then she started to cry.
Yeah, it was great to see her. I love it.
That was neat.
I love it.
Oh.
Jim says 2-1 in favor of the Toon. That's
right
where I put it. And also,
I'm still shooting for an ESAC hat trick at some point.
Yeah,
we have not had a hat trick since Iosi Perez scored a hat trick against Southampton when they went down. So it's been a few years since we've scored a hat trick. So we're overdue. And you can see every time ESAC gets a brace, he's champing at the bit to make it happen. And then all of a sudden it's like, we'll take him off and save his legs for next time. You could see the disappointment.
Yeah.
I was glad he earned one.
I was glad Wilson got back in and he scored a goal too. So that was great. I want to see both those guys doing good. Hey, here's a comment. Les, I did see that. There was a piece that Baz had a podcast earlier today and got a good video of the people from the Stanley Deaf Club thanking us for all that we did to highlight them, have them on one of the shows that Baz does through Black and White Eyes, and then all the money that we collected to donate to them.
For the month of April.
So there was a spokesperson and several adults, and
thanks, Leslie.
Kieran and several of the children. And it was a nice touch. It was a nice touch.
I saw some photos on Twitter when I had a break at work today. I went and looked at Twitter because I got a couple of notifications. So I saw pictures that Sue put out with Kieran and then the two little girls that we also saw with. But I haven't seen the video yet, so I'll have to go look for it.
Yeah, it's a little part of the podcast.
Les reminded us of when that hat trick was against Southampton that Perez scored. It's been 5 years since we've had a hat trick.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, come on!
Yeah, really. Hey, we got about now. It's close to 10 minutes, 10 or 11 minutes. I want to get your thoughts because it seemed like a big. It's not an official announcement, but there's a lot of chatter. A lot of chatter about St. James Park this week, and it was all like, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna do everything we can. Look at the feasibility of modifying St. James Park." And I'd say a lot of people were online going, "Yes, this is exactly what we want. This is." But then I saw a couple of people whining about, "Oh, we had a chance to build the new stadium right there." It's like, well, we haven't done that yet. We don't have the land and all that stuff.
There's no guarantees of any of that.
There's still two sides to this, but I personally was excited. I don't know what that means logistically, though, in terms of are we going to have to do without one side or the other, the East End or the Gallagate for a season and a half? Who knows?
And
these things don't happen overnight.
And that means displacing a bunch of season ticket holders.
It does. So
it cause even more concern and strife and stuff. So
So if I was a season ticket holder, and they've done this in a lot of different sports, it's like, okay, you're not going to have a seat, so we're going to try and move you in and give you 10 games a year or something like that. There's just going to be a lot of fussing and whining. And you know what? If you're committed to redoing the stadium, You just got to put up with that.
Grin and bear it,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah,
And
but
and the feelings of frustration are completely understandable. At the same time, you got to remember that there's still good 20, 30, 20, 25,000, 30,000 people out there who would kill for a ticket. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
I mean, again, how many season ticket holders will go without tickets during a rebuild? It depends on where does the construction start? You know,
right.
are they going to rip the roof off the Gallagate and then start? Do they start at the back? I mean,
Yeah,
another one of those things. Another thing to take into consideration is Shears is going to have to be closed for a while
yeah,
because it's not
yeah,
going to be available. But I don't see them gutting Shears in order to rebuild the Gallagate. But then again,
yeah.
we might be wrong. They may have to tear the entire Gallagate down. How many seats are in the Gallagate now? 10,000?
I
12,000?
I couldn't tell you.
I don't know that number either.
It's
That was
probably,
something we should have asked Matt Willis while we were there.
yeah, that's probably a good guess. Maybe 12.
I would think so.
But
Strawberry Corner's got to hold at least 3, I would think.
yeah.
So
And I'm wondering if they do redo it to where, the safe standing thing, if they increase it, you could increase seating right away. Not seating, but capacity right
Yep.
away if you did that kind of thing.
is that something that they could conceivably contemplate in the east stand? If they made the east stand safe standing, the whole thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
all of a sudden those people who are displaced from the corner could be slid over into there and you could fit some more people. So,
Yeah.
there's ways that,
Yeah.
but again, like you said, the big news was that they've done the feasibility study. Now it's all about the commitment to go ahead and do that. Did you see, I was on YouTube last night and there was a reel and it was Matt from Black and White Banter.
Oh, really? Okay.
And, was it Matt? Michael.
Matthew.
Matthew.
Yeah.
And he wakes up and he and the dog are looking at the phone on the couch
That's Matthew.
and then all of a sudden he gets up, walks out the door, he gets on the metro, and you could see him running up the stairs at the Gallagate end, up to the mezzanine, and all of a sudden the romantic music starts and he's hugging one of the doorways of the stadium, and then all of a sudden the music stops and he looks at the camera and kind of gets sorry, and then walks away. It's a really amusing reel. So
Yeah.
I feel the same way. When we talked about this while we were in Newcastle, we were sitting at any one of the fine drinking establishments that we visited while we were in Newcastle. We talked about this. We talked
Yeah.
about what would we rather see, and the consensus was, as long as a stadium is at the top of the hill, as long as a stadium, if it's built for purpose, on Lisa's Parkland. I mean, if it's right up the Barrack Road and it's a brand new stadium and it can hold 80,000, people are still going to be inconvenienced because the Lisa's end of the stadium is going to have to be torn down in order to finish that stadium.
Right.
And that was what option C of the really cool Bandicoot video. And if A is only building out the Gallagate so that it's commensurate with the Lisa's end and the Milburn stand, that gets us somewhere in the realm of 8,000 to 10,000 more seats. That gets us from 52 to 60, 62, something like that. Well, then that puts us on par with the Emirates.
Right. That's another thing.
Where Arsenal is.
Yeah, that's another thing that was mentioned. It was like, a lot of people are like, give us 80,000 so everybody can go that wants to go. But in reality, I think, I don't know. I've always thought 60, 65 would be good. And they do this here in baseball. They've actually built some stadiums smaller because some of our stadiums in the U.S. are built for U.S. football and baseball.
Yeah.
And what the baseball people wanted was something that was, since they play 162 games a year, they wanted, something that was more tight because it's better atmosphere if you sell almost all the seats out than if you have 80,000 seats and you only sell, 70,000 or 72,000 because people don't show up for that game where you're gonna win, and they went to a fixture last week, that kind of thing. But yeah, I thought just 60, 65, that puts us in the league with everybody else, and that's
Well, I think all of us forget that in 2000, when the current St. James's was being redeveloped, was being expanded, when we increased from 36 to 52,000, we were the second largest stadium in the country.
Yeah,
after Old Trafford.
Yep.
Since then, the Etihad has been built.
Yeah.
The Emirates has been built. London Stadium, where West Ham play, has been built, and that was built for the Olympics when London hosted. And then Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has been built. I mean, there's 4 brand new stadiums since, and I mean, and that's just the 4 big ones.
Right.
There have been other redeveloped grounds. I mean, Brighton, the Amex the Amex is a fairly new stadium, but it's considerably smaller than ours.
Yeah. Fulham built out theirs.
Craven Cottage built out the one tier that they actually went into the Thames in order to build that.
Yeah.
So
right on the river.
Yeah.
So Jim points out the 1-for-1. I didn't realize that, because if you looked at that, what is it, Dortmund,
the wall, the yellow wall.
Yeah, it seemed like they're really packed in there compared to our and if you look back at old reels from St. James Park, I mean, it was tight. People were right,
and it was standing room only.
Yeah,
it was the requirement from the Premier League to turn every Premier League stadium into an all-seater.
Right.
That then governed how many seats. And Jim, yeah, you're right. I had forgotten that when they did the safe standing corner and the strawberry corner, the only thing they really did was they added the
bars.
So that you could stand up in that section. But
right.
Like Jim said, it's a 1-for-1 seat. So
I didn't realize that. I thought it was increased the capacity somewhat. Yeah.
Well, here's another option. You could always just limit the number of tickets that opposing fans get up there in level 7. You can only sell the first 300 seats up there, and then you're packing in another 1,500 to 1,700 Newcastle fans.
Yeah. Looks like Les is saying goodnight. I understand.
Good night, Les. Thank you.
He also says you should do one thing. You should go on YouTube and search for Geordie Mouse on X.
We'll look for it.
It's probably on YouTube too. I saw the little clip. It was funny.
The empty head. Jim called it the empty head.
Yeah.
So, and to Matt and Matthew is Black and White Banter. Matt is the Magpie channel. I'm trying to keep them all straight.
I know so many
from town to town last summer, and then again, of course, meeting all of them again at the podcast, the charity match that we went to, and then seeing them again about town. Just trying to keep up with them.
I know so many Ians, so many Matts, Matties, Matthews.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
it's all fun.
And then you introduce ale into the middle of that, and then we can understand Geordie accents better, but we forget names.
Yeah, I forget. What's that guy with the colored beard? My friend. Yeah, Dan. That's right, Dan.
That's right. Yep.
So hey, so generally you're okay with this, right? The expansion.
Again, I'm glad that they've done a feasibility study. I'm glad that they now. It sounds to me like they're going to start looking at some architectural drawings. Try and get some developers who are interested in doing the project. I am 100% okay with them rebuilding or redeveloping St. James Park. At the same time, it still leaves the option open for 10 years from now to build a fit-for-purpose stadium down the street. Again, I just didn't want to see a stadium move down to the quayside. I didn't want to see it down on the riverside or something like that. Where it is where it belongs.
I had a couple thoughts about this whole process. One was a few months back, maybe 2 months back, they introduced the idea is, hey, we may need to just move. We may need to build a different stadium. Maybe one that accommodates NFL football, accommodates big concerts and all that stuff. And I was like, nah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't try and, it will take away from the unique feel of a football stadium unless you could do it right. So
We're still
they
the
got us
only
used to
stadium
that.
that's in the middle of town.
Yeah,
It's
they
in the
got us
city
used to
center.
that idea. We may have to build a new one. But now it seems like with this new announcement, it's really put pressure on the city council and everybody else to like, okay, all right, we didn't want it to move, so make it work. What can we do with that east stand?
Yep.
What can we do with the Gallagate? You've got to get the permits going. Once they come up with the design, make it happen.
Yeah.
You don't want to, so the pressure's on them, and I'm hoping that it's for real. It's not just a ploy to put pressure on them and then they don't come through or they drag their feet. Get on with it.
Yep.
So I look forward to it.
I do too. Again, when I first came to Newcastle for the first time in 2000 was during that summer that they were finishing up the renovations from 36 to 52,000. And I remember going in trying to get a stadium tour because I was only in town for one day.
Yeah.
I came in and it was, the middle of July. I was on my way to Dublin. And I remember going in there and asking for a tour, and they looked at me and said, "I'm sorry, we're not doing tours right now." And I was crestfallen because I had come from California and this was my first time in Newcastle. I wasn't even supposed to be in Newcastle. I was supposed to be in Dublin, but I was close enough and I wanted to go.
Yeah.
And that's when little Bob Hereford took us in, and he said, "Right, I'll give you 5 minutes." And we went up in the executive elevator right there in the reception area.
Yep.
And he took me all the way to the top of the Gallagate, and then we walked down. The reason why I wasn't able to go on a tour, why they weren't doing tours, is because one of the big cranes that was working on the development had been blown over in the wind, and it fell over onto the pitch, damaged the undersoil heating, damaged the pitch, all that. So it hit the pitch. I go back and find the pictures I took. I promised I would never share them, but I mean, they had stripped the pitch all the way back. It was dirt.
Oh, that's terrible.
And like, again, that was the 17th of July. The Premier League season was going to start in just over 30 days.
Wow.
So I mean, they were scrambling trying to get that thing redone.
I guess so. So yeah, both of us are A-OK with St. James Park. Let's improve it. Let's do some interesting things with it. But we know how to get there. Let's leave it right there. All our favorite pubs are close by.
Yep.
So, hey, just one more shout out to our buddy Joseph Spinney and his wonderful business, Dyer Crow. Thank you so much for sponsoring the show. All of you folks, get your Newcastle shirts and use code BAZ70 or BAZ20. BAZ20 for 20% off. You don't get 70% off just because Jack said that. Anyway.
That Z looks like a 7. It all depends on what type font we're using. So
yeah. Anyway, Dan, I think we better say goodbye.
Brother man, it's been good to see you again. I can't thank you enough for surprising the shit out of me on Saturday. That was so much fun. And
it was.
And I'm glad you got to see Monterey Bay play for the first time.
Yeah.
And we'll get you and Sue out here and we'll do it again.
Yeah, definitely.
Or how far is Tulsa from Norman?
It's about 100 miles, 110 miles.
And what's the speed limit in Oklahoma?
It's like 80 on one stretch of that.
So Monterey Bay has to travel to Tulsa to play at some point this season. I know you don't like going to Tulsa, but I'm just saying I might be able to return the favor, my friend.
It's one of the easier drives for me. So
and then we can go to Hooker over there in the Panhandle.
Yeah, so, oh my gosh. I'm gonna say goodbye.
Bye everybody. Good to see you.